Hi, I'm Chef Tani, and today I'm going to show you how to fabricate a chicken. The first thing I like to do is to hold the chicken by the wing and just above the joint that is closest to the breast. I'm going to cut it to the bone and then turn the whole chicken and cut it off, okay? Then I'm going to peel all the meat and the tendons from the bone. Hold my fingers close to the joint, hold the wing, and then take it off. You see how clean it comes off, okay? With the wings themselves, what I like to do is to go and cut beneath the joint by putting my knife, the base of the knife, next to the joint so I can release the joint, and I do the same on the other thing. I feel the joint, go underneath it, and go ahead and cut it off and release it. Okay, the next thing I will do is I will push away the bigger bone. Okay, some like to leave the bigger, some like to, there are two bones, okay? I like to leave the smaller one, so I take this bone. All of these things can be utilized to make a stock, so I keep that, okay? And now I have myself a little lollipop like this. I push with my fingers, I push down the meat, and I have a little lollipop. You can put some breading on it or just dip it with a little bit buttermilk and a little bit flour and fry it and have yourself a nice snack. Next thing I want to do is to fabricate the legs and the thighs. Okay, you have that skin that hanging over here. When I start fabricating my legs and thighs, and I want to make sure that I leave enough skin over here to cover the breast in case I need it for like a sauteed chicken breast. I want that skin. So instead of start cutting it close to the breast and having a risk of having expose the breast, what I do is I kind of like borrow as much skin as I can from the legs and the thigh. And instead of starting over here, you see where my knife goes? Right next to the leg. So I go ahead and open it up like this. This way, the breast is covered with skin. I'm going to continue. This is the thigh meat. This is the leg. This is the thigh meat. So I'm going to continue with my knife, following this line of the thigh meat. At the end of the thigh meat, we can see it clearly over here. You see, this is the oyster right over here. It lies in the back of the chicken. I want to pick up the oyster, so if I'm going to cut it this way, I'm going to leave it in the back of the chicken. The oyster is one of the best parts of the chicken. The French call it the solilès, which means the fool would leave it on, okay, because they want to go ahead and use it. So I can see clearly the oyster. You can feel it, okay? You can feel the muscle of the oyster, the meat. So I know exactly where to go with my knife. There is no guessing game where it is. You see where it changed the color. This is whitish and this is more like pinkish. You can feel it with your finger. So you go with the tip of your knife and you're going to scrape that oyster from the back of the knife. You utilize the tip of your knife and you're going to go ahead and get that. Okay, so after you scrape the oyster, you go with your thumb from the leg on the thigh bone until you reach the hip, and then you pop that joint out. Okay, this is the oyster that I was talking about. Now that I popped, you can see it. Okay, so after you pop it, you go ahead and cut in between the thigh and the hip bone, and then follow the backbone with the base of your knife, trying to recuperate as much meat as you can and not leaving too much meat this way. Okay, so this is the way that you cut it. Okay, over here, if you can see, there is a line. So I'm going to teach you how to separate your leg from the thigh really easily. You have that line over here. If you take your knife and you go about 1/4 of an inch towards the leg, every time that you go, it goes right between the leg and the thigh. So this line over here, you go about 1/4 of an inch towards the leg, and then cut, and it separates it. So this is your thigh, and this is your leg. The leg, I like to go ahead and use the base of my knife and go ahead and cut it off. Utilize this for stock. And the reason I do it, then, if I'm braising the leg, and now that I cut this off, I expose the bone marrow, and I can have a nice flavor out of the bone marrow into my braising liquid and later on in the sauce. Let's move to cutting off the chicken breast. Okay, the way I like to do it is I go in the center, and wherever my knife goes, to what side it goes first, this is the side that I'm going to do first. So it went to that left side. I'm going to go ahead and follow the left side. I'm going close to the bone. I'm utilizing the tip of my knife to follow the rib cage, trying not to leave too much meat on top of the chicken. So you utilize the tip of your knife, and you kind of like going over that rib cage, and this way you are not leaving meat on there. Okay, so once I get there, over here I found the wishbone. Okay, if you look, there is the wishbone. The wishbone is my guide to follow to find that joint, okay, that I'm trying to disconnect. So this is over here the wishbone. The wishbone is going to meet at the bottom with the bone of the rib cage and the chest over here, and then the other bone is this bone over here, which is the wing bone, which I want to leave on. So if I grab that bone in my hand, I can move it and I can see where that joint is, and I can go ahead with my knife and I can go ahead and take it off. After I take it off, I make sure that I have enough coverage of the skin on top of my breast. And remember, I told you before, it's not a big deal if you have a little bit extra. What you can do is you can go ahead and you can trim the excess skin. On the other hand, we have our tenderloin. We're going to take the tenderloin out. We can make chicken tenders out of it. And this is over here will be our beautiful chicken breast. You see how the skin covers the whole breast, and it's ready for sauteing. With the chicken tender, you want to find the tendons inner. You see a line, a white line, so you expose the end of it. Okay, I can show it to you. You see that end of the tendon is right over here. You put your finger on it, and then with your knife, you're going to take out that tendon, okay? So you just peel it off and you take out the tendon. So this is how you clean your chicken tendon from your tendon that is right in the center. If you have a little bit of connective tissue, you can trim it off, okay? Chicken stock. And this is your clean tenderloin. To prepare it for stock, you can get rid of the fatty part. The fatty part we are not going to use the skin, and then this is a nice way of having your carcass ready for chicken stock. And you can see how I took the oyster from the back. So let's recap. We have 2 wings over here, 2 thighs, 2 legs, lollipop, and these are also called lollipop. We have 2 breast skins on, covering the whole breast this way. So if we are doing sauté, we have that coverage of skin all around it. We have a carcass clean out of the excess like skin, not a lot of meat left on it, so it's a sign that we did a good job. And also look for the oyster that we remove right here from the back. And we have here the 2 tenderloins that we can make chicken tendies out of it. We can marinate them and then put them in flour and fry them or whatever. So this is the way that we do it here at the ICI. This is the way that we fabricate a chicken.